Hello everybody, Leon here, and today we are exploring the beautiful world of compound interest. And at the end of this video, you should be able to do that. You should be able to calculate compound interest. So first of all, what is compound interest? Now, compound interest is calculated on the initial principal. Now, first of all, what is compound interest? Now, interest in general is the extra money that goes on to something. So when we talk about compound interest, it's a special way of calculating this extra money that will go back, or the extra money that you have to repay if you borrow money from someone or somewhere. So it says compound interest is the calculated on the initial principal, which is the money that you borrow, and is also on the accumulated interest from the previous period. So what this is saying, if you have to pay back something in 4 years, what compound interest does, it calculates the interest in the first year, and that money that you get there, it's added to the money, and then you calculate it for the second year from the interest that was added in the previous year, and then the same thing for the third year, you calculate it on the amount that was accumulated so far, and then for the fourth year, you calculate it on the amount that was accumulated over the past 3 years. So this, with compound interest, the interest tends to be larger as compared to something as simple interest. So with that being said, let's look at how we can find compound interest. So there's a formula that is given, and the formula to find compound interest, or the formula to find the amount of money that you have to pay back after compound interest has been applied, is the amount is equal to the principal, P, open bracket, which means multiplied by 1 plus the rate over 100, all raised to T. T is the amount of years that you have to pay back, or the amount of years that something was invested. So I have here, A is the amount, P is the principal, which is the money that you borrow, R is the rate, and T is the time, and time is measured in years. So this formula would give you the total amount of money that you have to pay back. Remember, interest is the extra money. So if you want to find compound interest, you just subtract the principal from the amount, which is the money that you borrow, subtract from the money that you have to pay back. So that was a mouthful. So now let's look at an example to put this mouthful into action. So the first example says, Lisa invests $1,000 at a compound interest rate of 5% per year. Sometimes you may see per annum. Per annum, per year, they both mean the same thing. 5% per year for 3 years. Calculate the total amount and the compound interest earned. So first of all, let's use the formula. So the formula is the amount is equal to the principal multiplied by 1 plus the rate over 100, all raised to T. So the amount will be the principal. Now the principal is the money that was invested or the money that was borrowed. So in this case, we saw that 1,000 was invested. So the principal would be 1,000 multiplied by 1 plus the rate, which is 5%, over 100, all raised to the number of years, which is 3. See, the amount will be 1,000 multiplied by, now 5 divided by 100 would give me 0.05. So 1 plus 0.05, all raised to the third power. See, the amount will be 1,000 multiplied by, when we add 1 plus 0.05, we get 1.05, all raised to the third power. So 1.05 raised to the third power would give me, so the amount would be 1,000 multiplied by, when we raise this to the third power, we will get 1.15765, and when we multiply these two, we will get a value of approximately $1,157 and 63 cents approximately. And that is the total amount after you calculate the compound interest. Next thing they ask us to find is the compound interest. So we can find the compound interest would be the amount subtract the principal. So the amount in this case would be $1,157.63. Subtract the principal, which is $1,000. So when we subtract this, we will get a value of $157.63. And that is how you calculate the compound interest. That is the extra money that you earned after investing $1,000 at 5% per annum for 3 years. And that is how you work out compound interest and calculate amount. So let's look at another example. The other example says, James deposits $800 at 5% per annum interest rate for 4 years. Find the total amount and the compound interest earned. So in this case, we use the formula. Now the formula is amount is equal to the principal multiplied by 1 plus the rate over 100 all raised to the t power, which is the number of years, or sometimes it can be n. Doesn't really matter. So this will be the principal is the amount of money borrowed or invested. In this case, we see the principal is $800. So it's 800 multiplied by 1 plus the rate, which is 5%. So it's 5 over 100 all raised to the number of years, which is 4. So we work this out. This will be 800 multiplied by 1 plus, when we divide 5 by 100, we will get 0.05 all raised to the 4th power. This will be 800 multiplied by, now let's work out the bracket. So 1 plus 0.05, that would give you 1.08. And if you raise that to the 4th power, we will get approximately 1.3605. And then we multiply this answer by 800, so it will be 800 multiplied by 1.3605 will give us $1,088.40. And that would be the total amount that you will receive after investing $800. So this is the total amount. So the compound interest, so I'll use CI for compound interest. The compound interest would be the amount subtract the principal. So the amount will be $1,088.40 subtract the principal, which is $800. And when we work this out, we will get a value of the compound interest being equal to $288.40. And that is how we calculate amount and compound interest. So the extra money that you will receive after this was invested will be $288.40. Now let's look at the last example. So this example says a company borrows $10,000 from a bank. The bank offers 2 repayment options. Option 1, 5% simple interest for 3 years. Or option 2, 5% compound interest compounded annually for 3 years. Which option will result in the company paying less interest and by how much? So we have to find 2 things here. We have to find the simple interest after 3 years and the compound interest after 3 years. So let's first find simple interest for option 1. So option 1, so we know simple interest is equal to, so for option 1, simple interest is equal to PRT over 100. So the P would be the principal. So the principal would be 10,000 multiplied by the rate, which is 5, multiplied by the time, which is 3 years. And all of this will be divided by 100. So this 0 cancels out with that 0, this 0 cancels out with that 0. So 5 times 3 is 15. 15 times 100 would give me 1,500 or 1,500. So that is option 1. Option 1, we see that you pay an interest of 1,500. Option 2, we see amount will be equal to the principal multiplied by 1 plus r over 100 all raised to t. So the principal would be 10,000 again, multiplied by 1 plus the rate, which is 5%, over 1,000 all raised to t years, which would be 3 years. So this would be 10,000 multiplied by 1 plus 5 divided by 100 would give me 0.05 all raised to the third power. This would be 10,000 multiplied by, so this would be when we add 1 plus 0.05, that would give you 1.05 all raised to the third power would give me, this would give me 1.157625, and I multiply this by 1,000, I will get $11,576.25. And this will be the amount. So remember, the compound interest would be, so this will be the amount, but remember the compound interest would be $11,576.25. Subtract the principal, which is 10,000. If I subtract 10,000 from that, I will get a compound interest of $1,576.25. So that would be the compound interest, and this is the simple interest. So as we can see, with the compound interest option, you will pay more money in interest as compared to the simple interest option. So to answer the second question, which says, which option will result in a company paying less interest and by how much? So the better option will be the simple interest option because you will pay less money. So let's see how much less exactly we will pay. So let me erase this option here. So to find the amount of money less that we will pay if we borrow on simple interest, we just subtract 1,576.25, subtract 1,500, and that would give me $76.25. So we can say if the company borrows on simple interest, they would pay $76.25 less than if they borrowed on compound interest. And this solidified the fact earlier that said, with compound interest, you tend to get a higher interest as compared to simple interest, because compound interest keeps adding on and adding on. Simple interest, you just calculated one flat thing. And that has brought us to the end of this video. I trust that you have a solid understanding of compound interest. So we see the working is very similar to when we calculated depreciation and appreciation. You work out what is going on in the brackets for us, you raise it to whatever power, and then you multiply that answer by the principal. So just remember that, and you're on your way to mastering compound interest. So with that, I'll see you in the next video.